Okay. Hi, dear Courtney, sweet Jess, Sezzy. I'm so excited. All right. I'm going to pop it on gallery view so I can see all of your beautiful faces flooding in. Just a quick check. Can you hear me okay and see me okay? Awesome. I'm so excited to have everybody in the one place. Before we dive in, a few little housekeeping things. I'm sure you've all used Zoom at this point, but just for the entirety of the call, please keep yourself on mute just to ensure that my sound comes in nice and clear. I will be recording this and sending it to you in a follow-up email to everybody who's registered, so you'll have access to this again. Yeah, it's so good to see you all. This is so exciting. Wit, oh my gosh, hey girl. Dear Jade, Hiria. Okay, so Spirited Business. I'm so excited to be having this call with you today. I have the feeling of in my body, which always happens before I do a coaching session or host something in real space. And I'm so blessed to feel that feeling right now, because even though this isn't a paid offering or a one-on-one, immersive coaching session, I know that we're going to really get into some good shit here. It feels really important. So thank you so much for carving out some time and dropping in with me. What really come through clear this morning as I was sitting looking at the birds and sipping my coffee was that these virtual containers, if we so choose to willingly participate fully, really do create an energetic signature for what we want and what the collective wants. So when we come together, it's like we're accentuating and harnessing the group energy. Does that make sense? So whatever you're bringing to the table today, thank you. And my intention is that you leave here with the clarity and knowledge of the top few thoughts, stories, and beliefs that are really fucking you over when it comes to sharing your message, expressing and unleashing your medicine. And number two is a list of actionables that you can take for free literally today in moving toward actualizing your ideal business. So if you haven't yet, just find a journal and a pen and grab that next to you. If you don't have one nearby, that's fine. You can use the notes app in your phone or on your computer, wherever you are. Oh, Danika's here too. Hey, beautiful. This is so exciting. I should do this more often and just get all my favorite people on one call. Okay, so before we sink in to the actual content piece, and I'm going to tell a bit more of my story too. To those of you that have known me even for a few years, there's a lot that I haven't shared on social media in terms of my creative journey, my business journey, my money stories, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited to share a bit more intimate details with you about that. But a big piece of business in the new way, in the new paradigm, is treating it as ceremony. And I ventured to Maui last year to sit in a business ceremony with Mackenzie Maslow, who runs a nonprofit called Cacao with a K. And so she's a dear mentor of mine. And one thing that she really exudes and oozes just in her embodiment as a leader, which, by the way, she has a $10 million plus company. Like, she's the most spiritual angel I've ever met in real life, but she's also killing the game. So I listen when people are the marriage of those things. And there was a really big focus on breath work and embodiment and movement and self-care and rituals and attuning to whatever your personal relationship is with spirit, whatever you translate that as, throughout this whole weekend. So I went there with the intention that, yep, I'm going to learn some shit about marketing and, SEO and social media and all of this stuff, when really what we did was attune to a frequency of business in the new way. And so with that in mind, and knowing in my bones how powerful that is, because the last year in my business has been totally different from every year before, is starting this call in that way with ceremony in mind. So I ask that you get comfortable. We'll only be in this kind of opening ritual for a few minutes, but do get comfortable. And whenever you feel ready, simply closing down your eyes. And you might like to place your hands on your womb or on your solar plexus, the source of all creativity, where your power and passion and expression lives. And begin to slow down the breath and get curious about how it feels to be in the body in this moment. Becoming aware of all of the thoughts, the incessant stream of checklists that haven't been checked yet, and create a little separation between you and them, harnessing all of your attention, calling it here, home to this moment. So whatever day you've had so far, or whatever day is to come, just allow those things now to gently melt into the background of your attention. Without willing them to go completely, the mind will wander every few seconds. That's totally okay. But calling forward now this deeper part of you, the truth of you, and asking her to step forward, to give her room to breathe, to speak, to write, to dance, to share, to receive. You might have been hiding her under an invisibility cloak, or maybe tucked away in a secret treasure box and thrown away the key. So really allow yourself now to set her free. Your most authentic self. Your soul, your spirit, your truth, whatever you want to call it, your intuition. And then activating your visionary senses, I want you to cultivate this visual of a golden thread that connects you and me. And then between us, it continues around the circle. Everyone else on this call that's tuning in live or tuning in later, bring them into it too. And you feel this virtual circle start to become real in the energetic sense. No matter where you are in the world, you start to feel yourself moving closer to me and to the others on this call. As we start to now accentuate that golden light in this big wide circle, this portal that we're co-creating. As if we don't even need a room to physically sit together in, because this connection, this bond, this thread is so strong. And if you're not here, where are you? Each time your mind wants to travel down a rabbit hole, call it back, usher your attention back here and feel it. Let yourself feel the connection that we have to each other and to each piece of light that we're all giving to this circle. Breathing it in, trusting that that bond has been set. And whenever you feel ready to, just deepening your breath, crawling back in to this room and this time as you open your eyes. Thank you. A few minutes ago, I felt that really strongly. So whoever was sprinkling their magic, thank you. So I would love to hear from everybody using the chat box. If you haven't used Zoom before, down the bottom there's a little button you can click with a speech bubble to open up the chat box. And I just want to hear from you and take your moment to really sink into this question. But why are you here? Why does the term spirited business ignite something in you? And your answer might not even make sense. In fact, it's probably better that it doesn't, because that's what this is all about, as you'll find out. But I just want to know what brought you here today, as I sip on my cacao coffee. Because that intention is a really powerful driver for how you choose to use this time, this intermission, if you saw my post yesterday, this sacred pause in the way that society has always done things. This intention that got you here is the same pull in you that will be a part of this new way, as Peter Kelly calls it, the new paradigm, the new earth, the new age, whatever you align with. I know that there's something in each of you deep in your guts that says something really big is happening here and changing, and I don't understand it, and I want some support. And so let's gravitate toward containers like this where we can have an open conversation around what business can look like, and with the freedom to get excited about that future rather than feel the terror, the hysteria, the panic about how things are changing, because it is scary. So bring those intentions into the chat box when they feel clear. And I would love to share with you a little bit of my story as how I got here, who the fuck I am, why you should be listening to me, why my voice matters, and hopefully give you a little bit more insight into why this topic feels like such a strong call to action for me right now. So we've got a few intentions coming in. I say no deal to the hustle. Yes. I do not think I'm here in this moment by accident. Abso-fucking-lutely. Needing a break from the collective energy around how business should be done. Yes, no shoulds here. Coming into our own power, following our true path, knowing that you have things to share, but you want the magic to pull it forward. So good. Thank you. Keep them coming. So for those of you that don't know, I'm Emily. I actually recently just changed my last name, which is a whole other story in itself. But I have been obsessed with the internet ever since it became a thing. And it's really funny to me now to be looking back on the last 3 to 4 years of business and how really this part of me has been alive and strong ever since I was really little, which I think is true for most of us. If we look back, we can connect the dots, right? But during the time, we're kind of like, this all does not make sense, but it's starting to make sense for me. So I was a bit of a school hater and would spend my lunchtimes by myself in the Mac lab with all of the big fancy computers at my really shitty public school in the southeast suburbs of Melbourne. And I would teach myself how to use Photoshop when I was about 14, 15. So I've always been obsessed with creating dreamscapes and collages and this idea of a new world. I was always so obsessed with visuals of like cosmic kind of space stuff, but also sacred sites around the earth. And I didn't really understand that at the time. But what I was doing was crafting my future, was practicing, that the vision board thing we all are very well familiar with, that gets kind of a bad rap nowadays about being something you just do to spiritually bypass. I believe it's still such a powerful tool of how we are intuitively drawn to the things that we string together that might not make sense for a really long time. So a really big piece of spirited business is trusting that you won't really know anything until you do. And that is a big aspect of letting go of control. So I'm just going to place that there to roll around your mind of how much you love being in control and getting really honest with yourself about being in control. So I'm a teenager, kind of not really into the party scene, not into drugs, not really into what my current paradigm was offering me, and just really wanting to get the hell out of there. So I was teaching myself Photoshop, learning how to code. I was playing a lot of Sims. Who played Sims? Like, I was such a loser during the summer, like spending hours making houses and, you know, playing God almost. And so when I turned 18, I moved up to the tropics. I left home. I tapped out of what was presented to me as being the only way, which was addiction, alcoholism, working a job that you hated, earning next to no money, and becoming the total victim of that situation, and just a life of struggle, really. And I knew there was a tiny flicker in me, even though I was really depressed for those last few years before I moved. I was suicidal. There was something in me that got me on a plane and moved me to the tropics. I worked for Red Bull for a few years, which I know is very weird to think about. But once again, there was this part of me that knew this is important to my journey. I have to be here, even though I don't align with it fully. I soaked up all I could about marketing on a really big scale, about the importance of creating culture within a business, and the importance of creating a wider message for whatever product or service you're selling, because obviously Red Bull do this very well. Then I continued to travel, make money. I was swinging in this dance of work really hard, save a bunch of cash, and then as soon as I had enough in my bank account, I'd tap out, quit, and travel for a few months. Does anyone else resonate with the like feast or famine? Yeah. So I would spend all of my money, all of my time traveling as much as I could. I just was hungry for the world, hungry for truth, and on I guess you could call a spiritual journey ever since I decided not to kill myself. I literally read, it's so funny actually, this book, it is the same physical book that was the one I read when I was 17, and I decided, okay, there's something else. And I'm reading it again now because a new earth feels like what we're really in. So that was almost 10 years ago. And in this time of self-discovery, of attuning to the parts of me that I had suppressed, or that the world had encouraged me to suppress, my magic, my wishful thinking, my dreaming, my creativity, all of those things that so many of us experience as children, our extrasensory faculties like being psychic or having visions or really strong dreams. And I don't mean to say this to freak anybody out, but these are the parts of us that now we are being encouraged to reclaim, especially in the Western world where we don't have a connection to our elders or storytelling or a tradition that encourages these kinds of practices like ritual and ceremony. There is a big invitation now to come back online to what your version of ceremony is to you, of what your connection to those extrasensory faculties means to you. And I'm bloody excited about that because it means I can let my freak flag fly. So I quit Red Bull. I went traveling around Australia. I lived in a van. I've lived in 5 vans. I've spent a lot of time in nature, a lot of time in silence, a lot of time in solitude. And eventually I got led to doing my yoga training in 2016. So the first week of January 2016, I decided, fuck this shit. I cannot be an employee anymore. I was working at a produce shop here in Townsville with a boss that was an absolute arrogant asshole. He would come in and yell at me and scream. And I was just like, what am I doing here for $23 an hour? Like, I know that there's something bigger in me. Who has had that same moment where they're just like, fuck this, I need to be out now? Yeah. And that's like the universe pushing you to the edge to be like, are you really going to jump without any net? Are you going to trust us? And so I quit without any plan. I didn't know if I was going to live here. I didn't know where my next paycheck would come from. And my mum tagged me in a yoga training on Facebook, and my whole body just sung yes. I said, this is it. this is the thing that I've been waiting for. I'm going to be a yoga teacher. This is it. And I packed my life into my car and drove 2,000 kilometers and lived in an ashram for 3 months with a Hare Krishna community to get trained in my yoga, hatha and vinyasa. And during that time, because it was very ashram life, getting up at 4 a.m., chanting every day, eating vegetarian, no intoxicants, all that stuff, you also had to do seva, service work. And practicing yoga for 3 to 4 hours a day and doing service work, and because I didn't like working in the kitchen or doing the like female jobs like cleaning, which they automatically assigned all of the women to do, I was concreting and building fences and digging holes and doing all the masculine stuff. And so I was exhausted after 2 weeks of that. I was like, I can't do this for 3 months. There's got to be another way I can offer my service that can be of benefit to them, but isn't exhausting me. And so I thought, well, these guys need help. They're a bunch of Hare Krishnas that don't really know much about technology or about marketing or about the outside world. They're just living out here in the hinterland on their land with their cows and their veggies, but they need people, they need business to come in. And so I offered to build them a website on Squarespace and to manage their social media. I didn't know how to do that, but I knew that I could teach myself. And I knew that I knew at least 1% more than they did. And so this is a really important piece for anybody that is along their storyline where they're like, I really know that I'm not meant to be doing what I'm doing right now, but I'm not qualified to do anything else, or I need training to do something else, or I need 3 years of experience in this other thing. All you need to begin to share your medicine in whatever form that takes is to know just 1% more than the person that you're in service of, right? So instead of doing 4 hours of service work every day for the following 8 weeks or whatever, I was inside in the office or out at cafes in Mullumbimby, this really beautiful Byron hinterland town, crafting Instagram posts and looking up hashtags and learning about social media marketing for free. I was reading all of the Squarespace forums about how to build websites, what's important, what the hell SEO is, for free. So I was training myself rather than paying someone else to train me, while also giving in exchange. And this is what I feel is such a key piece for the new paradigm of business, is that it's no longer transactional. It's a much more fluid circulation of energy and genius that you begin to participate in. So after that process, I became a yoga teacher for a little bit. I realized that 16 hours a week of teaching yoga is not sustainable. And I, once again, jumped in a van, started traveling again, and realized, okay, I don't want to stay in the one place. I want location freedom. How do I make money while being of service, while being in my genius, and while being traveling and not really needing much to live? And so your story might be completely different. You might have a mortgage and kids and you can't be location free. You might have other constraints that mean that you have to choose things a little bit differently. But this is also deeply personal. For me, I needed to travel. And I know Courtney understands this. My feet needed to be around the world. And so I needed to work just from this, right? This computer. So I just started doing it. I charged $180 for my first website for a cafe that was local here in Townsville, who I used to work for. And it felt like such a big win that the cafe owner who used to be my boss was now my client. And once again, there's that circulation of energy, right? New paradigm of business is that hierarchy, smash it. It's not somebody is above you or putting people on a pedestal. It's knowing that everybody has a unique, innate genius that if you give them the opportunity to unlock it, they can serve you and you can serve them in a different way, right? Fuck the hierarchy. So every website that I started to do, obviously I would just learn along the way. It would take me a really long time. I would screw it up. I would have all these back and forth emails. I I would notice where my energy was being depleted, what communication styles would work, what things I needed to put in place to make sure I had everything what I needed. And that was 4 years ago now. And now I get on the phone with someone, and I have with a couple of you. And that process feels effortless now. Like I've nailed it. The process of whether or not I work with someone, whether they're a client I align with, and if I am going to serve them deeply, is I know that by seeing their name come into my inbox, right? This is the beauty of refining your craft so ruthlessly, I want to say, when you're coming from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. And this is what makes your work feel good, because that's all I'm interested in. I don't know about you. The money comes as a byproduct, as feeling fulfilled in the work that I'm doing. And it might feel different for you. I don't know. But that for me is what is really the success piece of the new way. That we can generate money from feeling good. That's actually the thing that creates the money, rather than the hustling or the burnout or the grinding or the action that's taken out of alignment and out of inspiration. So last year, I kind of just continued doing the website design, some graphic design. Some of the projects were horrific. Some of them were horrendous. I had, pain in the ass clients that I would charge $50 for a logo, and it would take me 2 weeks, and they'd just want. And I'm like, okay, there's something happening here. There's an invitation to start saying no. And this is the big test, I guess, from life or from money or from yourself. You're creating your own tests. But the big test was, are you willing to believe in abundance so much that you say no to potential clients and potential ways to make money that are not in alignment with your joy? And when I started saying no, obviously there's that gap of terror of like, fuck, I don't know if I can get groceries this week. And then like magic, something else comes along, which is much more aligned, which flows much more effortlessly and is a lot more fucking fun. And that's what I'm about. And that's what I want to be transmitting to you today, because that takes a hell of a lot of courage. And so the invitation I want to ask you now with your journal out is in relationship to that part of my story, becoming aware of what beliefs and stories I had that were really fucking me over is what set me free. So I'd love for you to write down in your journal now, what is the number one thought / story / belief, the number one thought that is stopping me from sharing my medicine? What is the number one thought stopping me from sharing my medicine? And for me, it was that the belief, I guess, was making money can't be easy. I was brought up in such an ingrained, conditioned situation that making any amount of money had to be really hard. And you had to be a victim of the process. Anyone else resonate with that story of growing up in that situation? I'm home right now with my parents, actually, and so it's a very interesting dynamic now to feel the way I feel and to really live it, and to see how I speak trigger them now rather than me being triggered by them. It's fun. And so in the chat box, I'd love a few of you to share, what is the number one thought that is stopping you from sharing your medicine? It can be really simple. And once you even nail down that thought, I want you to really look at it and see if there's anything underneath that. Is there a core belief even underneath that one? So it's like you're being the excavator of your own subconscious. And the reason we simply just want to bring light to this is to recognize that anything we keep in the shadow is running the program. 95% of our operating system is subconscious. It's not conscious. It's not the you that's listening to me sitting here right now thinking, I'm wearing a tan shirt and I'm wearing earrings and I'm listening to Emily speak and it's 10 a.m. in the morning or whatever. That's your conscious mind. That's not the person that is running all of your behavior and your expression and how you show up in the world. So what we want to do with this thought is simply bring it out of the shadow to go, oh, there you are. Didn't want to admit that to myself. Feel whatever feels come as a byproduct of that, going, shit, this is the thing that has been running me. I think it's a really necessary part of the process to acknowledge any grief that arises with that. And then working out this process of, is that true? Is that really true? Do I know for sure that that is true? And if there's a sliver of potential that that is not true, can I humor the idea that this is simply a story and not who I am? Like we did in the beginning, opening closed eye process is just simply creating a little separation between the mind and what is truth. That's all we're doing here with this thought, right? We're bringing it out to be like, oh, it's separate from me. It's not me. I'm the one that's witnessing the thought. So we've got a few in the chat box that are around the theme of enoughness. And I love that. Thank you for your honesty. Core belief of humanity is I am not enough, or it is not enough, good enough, smart enough, pretty enough, rich enough, fit enough, big enough, small enough, whatever. Enoughness. Thank you. And so the joy in sharing these and participating in this chat is knowing that this is a universal story, that right now we have the opportunity to burn so that future generations, our children and their children and all the ones that are coming after us, do not have to live in a world where this is the universal story. Can you imagine just for a moment if the universal story was I am enough? And when we like blow it out to that big scale, it kind of makes that pressure of doing the self-work release and be like, oh, I'm participating in this enoughness. So the enoughness, where that happened in my story was when I started to invest in mentors, was when I started to hand over money that I didn't actually even have. And there was something in me, that same flicker that was still shining when I no longer wanted to be on this planet, that got me to move and start a new life for myself, is the same flicker that got me to invest in mentors that knew something I didn't. And when I say that, I don't mean intellectually, and I also don't mean in truth. I mean that a mentor helps you reveal what you already know as truth. So it's not like somebody has something that you don't have. It's more like we're reflecting back to you what you really know is truth, but you've been hiding or putting to the side or distracting yourself from, or being too busy on Instagram consuming content about. And so I handed over thousands of dollars to various different mentors over time and really started to sink my teeth into learning myself, learning to see myself, learning to be with myself. And the reason why this is to do with business is because your business is you. Your business is a separate entity, but it's birthed from you, right? You're the human channel of it. And so if you don't even know how to sit with yourself, how to be with yourself, how to make art with yourself, how do you expect to birth a business that you can really be with through the expansions and the contractions? How can you really listen to the guidance that's being offered to you if you don't know how to do that for yourself? So how we learn to relate to business in the new paradigm is creating ceremony out of it, creating ceremony out of our relationship with it. So this for me can be as simple as scripting a paragraph of what I want to happen in the year and reading that every day. Simple. Simple. It can be setting aside specific time every week to just drop into the feeling of my business. Just like a little health check, you know, like, how's it going? How are things really happening right now? You can do this with money as well. I encourage you to do it with money. And also learning to show up in the world and in expression and in action, in reflection of my cycles. So everybody on this call right now, from what I can see and who I know, identifies as female. We're feminine, right? We have a cycle. We are all cyclic beings as human, which we have long forgotten because you know, we're in the age of toxic masculine paradigm that we're breaking out of. And so for you to be a leader of the new way, you must know your phases of energy, of input and output, of restoring the importance of rest in the creative journey, right? Nature knows this, shows us all around. We're just simply a reflection of nature. We have winters and summers and autumns and springs. So what would happen if you brought that same mentality to your business? Instead of the pressure of create, go, get it done, more followers, more likes, more engagement, more. That is such a suppressor to creativity and to trust and to fulfillment. What if you brought that cyclic awareness into your own business, into your own art or creativity, whether you're making money from your art or not yet? And that just alleviates the pressure of the old way, because it doesn't work. Who has participated in their own business or in a job before and has burned out? Who knows what that feels like? I think I just saw every hand go up, right? Fuck that shit. That ends now. Are you with me? That ends now, because it's not sustainable. And we know this. That's why we're kind of in this phase right now, because nature is like, yo, you guys need some thinking. You need to reevaluate how you're showing up. How about you just rest and chill out and go in? Because all we're focused on is out and the 3D. But if we're wanting to bring in a new way, it means anchoring in some 5D shit. And how we do that is time with ourselves, time in ritual, in ceremony, in creativity. And a theme I want to present to you now is the new paradigm of productivity. Because we're all obsessed with this word. We've all grown up in a world where productivity is king. You know, if you're not doing enough shit, you're not worthy to be alive. If you're not getting stuff done, you're not worthy to exist. That's kind of how the current model speaks to us, right? Which is why all of us have this story of not enough, never enough, not enough, never enough. So the new paradigm of productivity is including and imbuing this reclamation of our cycles as human beings, not human doings. So I have a blog post on my website, actually. If you're not familiar with any menstrual cycle work, you might be thinking, how the hell do these two things correlate? Believe me, they do. Your superpowers are in your womb. It's where everything lives. Your creativity, your connection, your passion, your power. This is the seat of all of your finance stuff. This is literally how we receive. Think about it. Physically, a woman must receive before she can give. We're literally built this way. So if you're not giving to yourself and not letting yourself receive, then you're signing up to be depleted and exhausted and burnt out. I want you to really hear that. What's everyone's relationship like with receiving and receptivity and rest? Just whatever comes to mind, drop that in the chat just so I can feel it out. Another note that I just had written down which kind of ties into sitting down for a health check of your business, is the word integrity. And integrity is the new way, right? No longer, or it's still happening, but in this information age of everybody being plugged in and in the know, it's really hard to hide now. We see leaders, politicians, people of power, authorities. We can see all of their shadows because now it's coming to light, right? So if you're not confident or comfortable with selling your service, with offering whatever it is that you want to offer, whether you have a service or a product or a program or a course, if you're not comfortable and confident selling those things, it's because you're not in integrity with what you're selling. So how can you be comfortable? Of course you feel like sleazy or cheesy or weird about being like, yeah, I can help you, but like, I don't know, maybe I can, like, oh, pay me for it, and be all weird about it, is because you're not in full integrity with what that is. You don't know your own medicine yet, which is why the self-work is such a big piece of this. It's why it's not business training 101, because that's not my genius. You know that. That's not why you're here. I don't have a large following. I don't make 6 figures a year yet. I don't, exude the cookie cutter, beautiful hair, rich vibes, like, do my course and I'll teach you how to make 6 figures. It's not my jam. My jam is if you're waking up feeling turned on by your life and you're going to sleep feeling full. That's my jam. And how we get to that place is being in integrity with what our medicine wants from us, so then it can be channeled through us. So I want to just feel out as well what your medicine is. I know a few of you, I know the things that you do in the world, but if you could also just pop in the chat box the thing that you want to be doing, the thing that's been knocking on your shoulder that's like, oh, hello, this is what you're really meant to be doing in the world. Are you a writer? Are you a marketer? Are you an artist? Are you a dancer? Are you a singer? Are you a website designer? Are you a coach? Are you a healer? Jess, your hair is dope. You're amazing. Love that. Thank you so much for that comment, Jess. You're the best. So we had Crystal say, started following my cycle for 3 months this year and I've noticed a huge difference in my energy levels. Such powerful stuff. Working on receiving. It's not spiritual to ask for money for what you have to share. Oof, that is a good one. Thank you. So these things that we want to show up as in the world, right, are simply roles that we're playing. It's like they're avatars. So if you're a writer, like Mandy, that's one role, one expression of the real medicine, because we're all just here to play and to share and to create, and becoming heavily identified with that one role can create a bit of stifling, actually shuts down your creativity. So for me, I never wanted to identify as a website designer because it meant that I had to say no to other things. And because I know that the medicine underneath Emily as the website designer, or Emily as the social media manager, or Emily as the coach, it's all the same thing. It's just a different expression of how I actually serve people in the 3D. So I want you to write down on another piece of paper, what are the roles you play? Because I want you to really bring awareness to the places that you're already sharing your medicine, that you're already expressing your creativity. Maybe you're a wife, maybe you're a mum, maybe you're a teacher, maybe you work in corporate, maybe you work at a coffee shop. And I want you to expose all of these roles to know that your medicine is actually not separate from those things. And that when you have to participate in these things, along the journey where you're building your business, or you're, beginning to creep toward your own expression, your own business, your own money-making pursuit, whatever, is it just makes it a lot more joyful, right? So for me, for about 6 months before I started coaching, I wanted to learn all that I could. And so I worked for coaches. I managed their social media. I did their newsletters. I created their YouTube thumbnails. I did design for them because I wanted to know how their business worked. There was a really clear awareness that I don't want to be a social media manager. I don't want to post on Instagram for other people. I don't really want to be doing this. But if I woke up every day saying that, I don't really want to be doing this. This isn't what I want to be doing. I think I have bigger stuff in me, but here I am. Shame spiral takes me out of the medicine. So what I chose to do, and of course to practice, is to show up and be like, I'm expressing my medicine through this channel right now. And practicing my relationship with it, training myself to trust it, training myself to show up for it. So this just means every single piece of your current life as it is as it should be. Yes, there's boundaries that sometimes need to be made. Yes, you might get the sign to leave, to move on, to shift into something different. But you can't go anywhere unless you're really fully where you are. And so acknowledging those phases of where I was truly is what I believe is how I feel so comfortable in the wild unknown of this time. Is I've practiced my relationship to trust in my business, my entity, my creativity, my own expression, so much that something like this whole chaos that we're in right now hasn't thrown me. It's kind of just been like seeing if I budge, and I feel really rooted. And that's what I want for everybody. I want everybody to be as excited as I am in this time. And so I want you now to write at the top of another page, because if you were to accept where you were right now fully, how would you feel? Would it be lighter or would it be heavier if you were to accept your current situation? Because the vision that you might have of a new world might be so big. Samantha's just written, change the face of healthcare. Fuck yeah, girl. You're doing it. But something that big we can't do unless we fully accept where we are right now, right? And also have a relationship to our new future, which you guys already know. I have so much content on how to script already. I really encourage you to bring that aspect into your business as well. Having a script for your business means that you just have an anchor point when everything feels so wild and unknown. So what are some of the ways that you would feel if you were to just accept where you were right now as being where you're meant to be? Tell me. Chat box. Lighter, maybe? Calm? Yeah. Relieved, at peace. Do you feel that in your shoulders? Held. And so what is the energetic signature of those acceptances? If you accept where you are, the energetic signature of that is held, taken care of, empowered, lighter, safe. Now, what can we do when we feel those things? We can create. We can be in the new paradigm of productivity. We can be connected to a new future. But if we're so all consumed with being caught up in, I'm not where I should be, I'm not where I want to be, my business has shown me this vision, I've got this really big idea, but it hasn't happened yet, so that means I've failed. Cue shame spiral, cue oldest belief in the world, I'm not good enough. You're going to stay exactly where you are. Do you see how that plays out? Which is why the self-work is imperative when we're talking about the new way of doing money, of doing business. If we're wanting a feminine economy, collaboration, community, co-creation, connection, rather than separation and competition, we need to first have these qualities within ourselves. So we know the number one thought stopping you from sharing your medicine. We know how it would feel now if you accepted where you were. Then what? Right? The fear that we have about acceptance is, well, what? I just accept where I am and then I just stay there forever because it's good enough, but really it's not good enough. And the opposite actually happens. If you truly accept where you are and still have the drive of moving forward, script a hot new future, keep tapping into the vision, ask for the guidance, the big vision that's over here or over there or whenever it is, let it seduce you forward and take action from inspiration and alignment. So I want you to write on your page, action only when inspired and aligned. Action only when inspired and aligned. Any other time you take action is coming from that old belief that you're not doing enough and that you're not good enough. Any other time that you take action, you're taking it from someone else's blueprint. That you should be doing something. That productivity or business building should look like this. If there's one thing I know, it's that massive action taken in alignment can create a ripple effect of momentum that will outdo any other thing. Hours and hours and hours and hours of busy action does not compare to one aligned, inspired, guided action. So if you're not getting those inspired, aligned downloads or intuitive hits or guidances or nudges or ideas, then pause. Get to learn yourself. Get to trust the process. Surrender, soften, dance. Create in another way that isn't for the pressure of your business, that's just simply for the joy of creating. And by getting in that frequency, by accepting where you are, what we feel, calm, at peace, relieved, held, taken care of, empowered, lighter, safe, brighter, grateful, then you open up the frequency, the energetic signature to receive those inspired, aligned actions, right? It's so intuitive and it's so visceral and unseen and demands that you start to awaken the wisdom in your womb rather than the masculine intelligence and intellectual genius of your head. And that's really uncertain. That's really scary. I get it. Trusting the feminine is a whole new ball game, but it's what we're all being invited to do if we want a new way of business. So once we then are in that energy, that vibe, and we take the aligned action, that's when shit happens. So I want you to write now on a piece of paper, next page, this is like the third step to the process, is what are the actions I can take today that don't cost me anything or no money. It might cost you time, but it's an investment, right? Language shift, investment rather than spending. What are the actions I can take today that cost me no money to get a little closer to my vision? So if I want to, I'm just looking back at some of you. So if I want to change the healthcare system, right? Like our friend said before, big vision. Whoa, holy moly, that's overwhelming. How do I do that? I'm just one person. Blah, 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 blah. Overwhelmed. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to watch Netflix and go on Instagram. Is anyone familiar with that cycle of action? Where the vision feels too big, so then you're like, too much. I'm going to just retreat and stay exactly the same. Yeah. So what we do instead is answer this question as simple as possible. If I were to accept where I was right now and also become aware of the actions I can take today that cost me no money. I say that because a lot of the time we think money is what gets in the way of us starting a business or sharing our medicine or expressing our truth. We think, oh, I can't pay for that training, or I don't know how to pay for marketing ads, or, you know, I can't pay for the shipping, blah, blah, blah. It's bullshit. What are the actions you can take right now? You can have a conversation with someone. You can send an email. You can post on social media. You can do the thing that scares you. Even if you don't think it holds any relevance to business, guaranteed, if it's something that makes you a little bit uncomfy, it will unlock some stuff in you that will free up the channel for expression. So an example of this is like, and a current way I'm plugged, actually, I'll show you both. So a way that I thought I was blocked in my business, when really it was something unrelated that needed to be unblocked so that then I could flow in my business, was learning how to sleep. Like, I went to Maui last year, and the biggest insight I had was that, wow, I haven't slept in 25 years since I've been on this planet. I have not really slept. Insomnia is something that has been with me for a really long time. And I went to a business training to learn, oh, I'm really upset that I haven't slept. How does that make sense? And the guidance from my business was, you need to kill me until you can sleep. And that was horrifying. I was so ready to, like, you know, get more followers and get more money and get more shit. And I was like really excited. It was the summer in Vancouver. I was like, yeah. Time for me to shine. And my message was, you need to kill me and you need to learn how to sleep. And I was like, well, fuck, that was not the plan. And so what I did instead was promise that I would have all of August off, out of my inbox, out of any pressure to create. I went on a road trip with Mandy. I went to Bali to go and humor a new love that is now my partner. And I just allowed myself to trust the feminine. What is more feminine than staying out of your inbox and going to Bali and having sex with a new lover, right? Those are the things that I was guided to do. Doesn't make any logical sense. Gary Vee would be like, you are failing. You need to hustle. You need to grind. You need to not sleep for another 10 years. Fuck Gary Vee. Like, you're awesome, but like, that's not the kind of success that I want. And so to trust in that guidance took a lot of me. But by having that 1 month off, the ripple effect of that meant that since I returned to my inbox, I have been fully booked ever since. I could not have planned for that. And it has happened effortlessly. I say that with total truth. Like, I'm not lying to you. Being fully booked in website design has happened effortlessly. Without much marketing, without much anything. I barely talk about it, but people keep wanting to work with me. That's the magic that I want you to experience, because it's so fun. It makes making money so fun. It makes showing up to work so fun. Now, I'm aware we're right on time, so I just want you to drop in the chat box below now some of the answers to that question. What are some of the actions literally you personally can take today to move closer to bringing your vision to life? Tell me about them. Jess. Alrighty. Jess, can you pop your Instagram handle in the chat box, please? Because you've got however many, 18 of us or 17 of us ready and waiting for you to launch. Thank you. Oh my gosh, look how much I'm sweating, guys. Seriously. I get so wet of this stuff. I'm like sliding around on my chair. All right, so Jess is launching her website. Jade is going to post some updates on social media. Haven't shared your journey since Christmas. Yep. Drop your handle there too, please, Jade. We're going to stalk you. Whitney, email, social media, write, design. Yes, follow up on clients that I've been too busy to follow up on. Good. 200 heartbeats. Awesome. Contact a few close friends that would be willing to trial a virtual journaling workshop. Hey, guess what, Mandy? You got one right here. I would love that. I'm in. You've probably got 17 other people that would be into that as well. Awesome. This is the new way, right? It doesn't need to look like 10,000 fucking followers. It needs to look like a handful of people that really give a shit about what you're doing in the world, because it's important and it's special and it's needed. Awesome. So we've got some actions to take today. Awesome. Now, what comes next, I guess, after this, because I love this conversation and I want to keep having it, is number one, I'm starting a podcast, which freaks me the fuck out, but I'm doing it. You know, I've always thought my voice is so irritating to listen to, but I don't know, guidance keeps knocking. Seriously, it won't let up. It's just like, no, you need to do it. So that's happening. I also was wondering from you, like, what other resources or what resources or tutorials or practical processes would benefit you in connecting to business in the new paradigm? Because I know so much of this is not tangible. Our brain wants the 5-step process. It's like, tell me exactly what I want to do. Tell me how to do it. Tell me the 30-day launch plan. Like, no, that's just not, it's not how it works. It's really not, because even when you have those things in place, there is definitely a place for structure and systems. I'm super turned on about that in my website design process. Courtney knows this. I'm like, let's get you out of your inbox and systemize everything. Yes, healthy masculine. But the new paradigm of business means that you can have a plan, but then you need to flow in it. You need to be flexible. My plan was right now that I was going to be in Vancouver, and Courtney and I were going to be in Joshua Tree filming content for our Spirited Business Retreat. But we're not. I'm in Townsville. That wasn't part of the plan, but I'm not freaking out because there's this inner trust and flow within the structure that I've created to go, okay, there's something here for me. Oh, I have to start a podcast. Oh, I have to run a Spirited Business Masterclass. Oh, I actually have to start a training to teach people how to create their own websites, because yeah, that's another thing coming. So stay tuned for that. Alrighty, guys, it's been an hour. I don't want to take up any more of your time. I'm conscious of valuing that. We have actions, we have acceptance, and we have hopefully an invitation to be in ruthless integrity with what your medicine is asking of you, right? And also the thought that is fucking you over. So I'm so grateful for everybody. Thank you for being here. Is there any questions for those of you that want to stick around for a few minutes, just so I make sure that this container feels rounded up and complete before we end? Please feel free to drop them in the chat box now and I'll read them out and share. More than happy to stay for a few minutes because, like I said, I'm dripping in sweat of this. That's how excited I am. I love it. I feel it. It's electric. It's like, yeah, this is how it's going to be. Even if it's not right now, even if there's fear present, if there's so much uncertainty present, that's okay. This isn't to bypass the human stuff, guys. This is to really learn how to be with it, feel it, see it, and create trust in the process, because it's not all meant to just feel like sparkles and woohoo until it does, until there's something in you that clicks into place and you're like, oh, it can be easy. Wit, bless up. Oh, our friend, well, Whitney's brother Jacob, trademarked bless up. Thank you. Okay, so Jess, yes, we'll get on a call about your questions. Awesome. 20 seconds to put a question in, anybody, if anyone has one. I'm just looking at all of your faces. Gorgeous humans. Thank you. All right. Have an awesome rest of your day. Stay tuned for the training that I will be releasing within the month about how to slay your Squarespace website. Instead of working with me one-on-one now, I'm going to take it into groups, give you everything that I do, that I've refined over 4 years of designing websites. And because it's a big investment to make if you're just starting out as well. And I actually don't recommend it, which is why I only work with people that are like a year or two into their business, because so much changes and so much evolves. So me and 2 friends are creating an outline for guiding you through exactly that. So keep your ears pricked up, because that's going to be awesome, and have a beautiful rest of your day. I love you so much. Thank you for being here.